Hi, it's John Vu, and today's lesson is on Do I Wanna Know by Arctic Monkeys from the Trinity College London Drums Initial Rock and Pop syllabus. So the Arctic Monkeys are a massively popular band, and this track is from their album AM, which was released in 2013. Okay, so if we look at our sheet music, first of all in the top left corner, we've got technical focus. So this is one of the technical focus pieces within the exam. And then we've got the title of the track, Do I Want to Know? And in the top right of the page, we've got words and music, which was written by Alex Turner, Jamie Cook, Matt Helders, and Nick O'Malley, which are the members of Arctic Monkeys. Right, and if we go beneath that, we've got verse in a box, and then underneath that, we've got solid, and we've got crotchet equals 85, and it says 2 bars count in. Okay, so that verse in a box tells you the first section you're going to be playing is the verse, and underneath it's telling you it's a bit of a description of how the song wants to be played. All right, so this is saying it needs to be solid, and then the crotchet equals 85 means the tempo of the music is 85 beats per minute, and the beats are crotchets. Okay, so it's going to be 85 crotchets per minute. So that's the tempo of the song. And then it's just telling you there's 2 bars of counting. So when you play it with the backing track, you're going to hear 2 bars first of all, which is going to set the tempo for you before you start playing. So if we look at our first line of music, so if we look at our stave, the first thing we can see is our clef. So we've got those thick 2 black lines there. So that tells us it's our percussion clef or our neutral clef. And then we've got the time signature. So we've got our 2 numbers, top and bottom. We've got 4, 4. So 4 at the top and a 4 at the bottom. So that tells you, the top number tells you you've got 4 beats in the bar, and the bottom number tells you a beat is a crotchet. Okay, so each beat lasts for a crotchet. So we've got 4 crotchets in our bar. Right, so looking at the first set of notes in the first bar. So we've got a top rhythm and a bottom rhythm. So 2 rhythms in the same bar, which is common in drums. And if we look at the top rhythm first, we've got a crotchet rest, then a crotchet rest, and then a crotchet. Or if we say the American names, we've got a quarter note rest, a quarter note rest, and a quarter note. So that top rhythm is going to be simply counted 1, 2, 3, 4. And all we need to play is rest, snare, rest, snare. As you can see, those crotchets are on the snare space, okay? The second space down on the stave. So a very simple rhythm. And then underneath that, so the bottom rhythm, we've got 4 bass drums there, and they're all crotchets or quarter notes. So they're just going to be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. Underneath the bar, you've got the dynamics that this needs to be played, and it says MF, which is mezzo forte, which means medium loud. Okay, so it's kind of played at your normal dynamic. Okay, so medium loud. And then the technical focus of this piece is a steady beat and coordination. Okay, so you've got to keep this rock steady beat because there's no hi-hat to rely on with this groove. Okay, so normally you've got this hi-hat that's sort of keeping the subdivision, and everything ties to that. Okay, so the bass drums and the snares normally line up with that when we play a groove. But for this groove, there's no cymbal, right? So you just got to keep that rock steady groove without relying on that hi-hat subdivision or that ride subdivision. So putting our groove together, we've got to keep time with the bass drum on all 4 quarter notes, and we're just going to hit that snare on the 2 and the 4. Okay, so you're basically going to play 1, 2, 3, 4. The left's going to play on the snare, rest, 2, rest, 4. Okay, and we're going to play that snare with the left hand because it's our backbeat. So if we were using our right hand on the hi-hat to play the groove, we'll be using the left hand on the snare, right? So we're going to keep that backbeat played with the left hand. So we're going to play bass drum with the right foot, and then we're going to play bass drum and snare on the 2, bass drum on the 3, and then bass drum and snare on the 4. Okay, so that's where the coordination kicks in, which is another part of the technical focus of this track. So we need to make sure we're playing that bass drum and snare drum at the exact same time on the 2 and the 4, and just keeping that bass drum consistent on the downbeats, right? So make sure you hit the 1, 2, 3, and 4, and we're keeping that tempo solid. Okay, make sure the subdivision is always evenly spaced. So we're going to try this groove. So just get used to this groove in time with a metronome at the song tempo, which is 85 beats per minute. Okay, and if you struggle with this tempo, especially with the coordination side of things and keeping it consistent. And obviously reduce the tempo down, so maybe start at 60 BPM, just really get a feel for the groove first of all, and then you can bump up that tempo to get towards 85 BPM. Then once you hit 85 BPM, obviously we can play it with the track. So let's first of all start just with the metronome, just getting that groove down. Okay, so if we look at the top line again, we can see in the second bar we've got a 1 bar repeat. So for the second bar we just repeat that groove, and in the third bar we've got the same, so we've got a 1 bar repeat again. So that means we're going to repeat the second bar, which is repeating the first bar. So we're basically going to play that groove for 3 bars. Okay, so you play the first bar, repeat it, play, and then you repeat it again. Okay, so you play the groove 3 times in total, and then we hit that fourth bar where we got a little change. So it's just a little subtle one beat change, which is going to change that 4. So we still got that bass and snare, bass on the 1, 2, and the 3, and on the 4 we're going to play a right left on the snare. So we're now playing quavers or eighth notes, which are going to be counted 4 and. So our top rhythm is rest, 2, rest, 4 and. Okay, so right left on the snare, and our bass drum isn't changing. We're still playing all those downbeats. Right, so let's just try that fourth bar in time with the metronome. So again, we'll do it at the song tempo, and we're going to loop it round. So we're going to play it 4 times in total, just to get used to those quavers or those eighth notes on the 4. Right, so now we've got that down, we're going to put the top line together. So we're going to play our groove for 3 bars, and then we're going to play our little change on the 4th bar. So we're going to play the top line of the music in time with a metronome. Right, so if we look at line 2, we've got the same groove, and again we repeat it and repeat it again. So we're playing the groove 3 bars again for the second line, and in the 4th bar of the second line is our change again. So we just got that little change, and this time it's a longer change. So we're playing something different on the 3 and the 4. Okay, so the 1 and 2 are the same, and then for the 3rd beat we've got quavers, and on the 4th beat we've got quavers as well, or eighth notes. And they're going to be played on the floor tom. So as you can see, the note heads have dropped down to the 3rd space now. So we're playing right, left on the floor tom, and then we're going to be keeping that bass drum on the 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we got bass drum on the 1, bass drum and snare on the 2, so the first half of the groove. Then we're going to be changing it over to the floor tom. We're going to be keeping that bass drum on the 3 and 4, and we're playing 3 and 4 and on the floor tom. We're going to be playing that right, left. So let's just try that 4th bar of the second line in time with a metronome, and we'll loop it through again to play it 4 times in total. So now let's try the whole of line 2 in time with the metronome. On to line 3, so again you got the groove for 3 bars, and then the changes in the fourth bar again, and we've got a fill for the third and fourth beat. This time it's 2 quavers on the medium tom, so we see we're on the line, on the second line, which is the medium tom. So we've got 2 quavers there on the 3, so we've got 3 and then we're going to drop to the snare for the 4. So we're going to play a right left on the medium tom, and we're going to hit that 4 on the right hand with the snare, because it's part of the fill, right? So it's not really a backbeat, although it is on the backbeat count on the 4. It's like part of the fill there. So we've got 3 and 4, okay? An alternative way to play it is right, right, left, if you want to keep those left hands, all right, on the snare drum. So there's 2 ways to play it: a right, left on the medium tom, and then a right on the snare, or a right, right. So you can play a double stroke on the medium tom and hit that left hand on the snare to keep all them snares on the left hand. So let's play the groove for 3 bars, and then we'll hit the fill for line 3. Then moving down to the 4th line, so we got the same groove again, and we repeat that twice. So we play it 3 times in total, and in the 4th bar we've got a 1 bar fill now. So on the first beat of the fill, we've got 2 quavers on the small tom, or 2 eighth notes on the small tom. Then we're going to move across to the medium tom to play a crotchet or a quarter note, and then we're going to stay on the medium tom to play 2 more quavers or 2 eighth notes. Then we're going to come down to the floor tom to play 2 quavers again, or 2 eighth notes. Alright, so you're going round the toms for this fill. You got 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and. So let's just try that fill in time with a metronome. So let's try to play the whole of line 4. So we've got the groove for 3 bars, and we're now 1 bar fill. So if you look at the end of line 4, the last bar of line 4, you've got a double bar line at the end of the bar, which tells you the music's going to be changing from that point on. So if you look at the next line, it says pre-chorus above, which tells you it's a new section of the song. So we've just played the whole verse there. Okay, so we've got 4 lines in our verse. And you see at the end of line 4 as well, it says, do I want to know? So that's the lyrics. So it's just sort of giving you a little cue there to let you know where you are. All right, so we're going to try and play all 4 lines now. So line 1, 2, 3 and 4. And we're going to try it in time with a metronome first of all. So now we've got that down, we're going to move on to the fun bit, which is playing it to the music. Alright, so we're going to try those whole 4 lines in time with the track. Okay, so remember we've got that 2-bar counting. So you'll hear 2 bars counting in first. You'll hear 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we start, okay? And remember the drums are really important to hold a steady groove in this track. Alright, so you got to make sure your timing is spot on, the coordination is nice and tidy, alright, so we're hitting those bass drums right on the downbeats and the snares are lining up really nicely on the 2 and 4 when we're playing the groove, and just make sure the timing of the fills is really sort of nice and smooth and evenly spaced. Okay, so let's try the first 4 lines, so the whole verse in time with the track.
Have you got color in your cheeks? Do you ever get that fear that you can't shift the tide that sticks around like so much in your teeth? Are there some aces up your sleeve? Have you no idea that you're in deep? I dreamt about you nearly every night this week. How many secrets can you keep? 'Cause there's this tune I found that makes me think of you somehow, and I play it on repeat until I fall asleep, spilling drinks on my settee. Do I wanna know?
Okay, so if you notice anything messy going on when you played it with the music, go back to playing it with the metronome, slow it down a little bit and work it up, okay? So just get familiar with the parts and then try it with the music again. Once you got it, we'll move on. So moving on to the pre-chorus at line 5, which is bar 17. So now we've got the hi-hat coming in, okay? So this is going to be a bit easier to play the groove. So the hi-hat's playing quavers or 8th notes, so we're counting those 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and underneath you've got that same thing we had with the groove beforehand. So we've got that bass drum on all 4 downbeats, and then we've got that snare drum on the 2 and the 4, okay? So obviously you're familiar with playing that part. All we're doing now is adding that hi-hat in. So let's just try that groove in time with a metronome 4 times through. And then we've got a 1-bar repeat and then another 1-bar repeat. So we're going to play that groove for 3 bars. Then when we move into the 4th bar of that line, again we've got a fill. This fill is a whole bar. So we've got a crotchet on the 1 or a quarter note on the 1, quavers on the 2 or 8th notes on the 2, quavers on the 3 or 8th notes on the 3, and then a quarter note or crotchet on the 4. Okay, now orchestration for this fill, we've got the crotchet or the quarter note on the snare, the quavers or the 8th notes on the small tom, moving over to the medium tom to play the next 2 quavers or 2 8th notes, and then we're going to finish on the floor tom, crotchet or a quarter note on the floor tom. Okay, so we're counting that rhythm 1, 2 and 3 and 4, and again we're just moving around the kit, but this time we're starting on the snare, so we're going all the way around all 4 drums. So we've got snare, toms, medium tom, finish on the floor tom. Okay, so we're going around those pitch from high to low. So let's try that fill in time with the metronome, and we'll loop it to play it 4 times. Okay, so let's put that line together in time with the metronome. So we're going to play 3 bars of the groove and then play the fill for the 4th bar. Moving on to line 6, so bar 21, so we've got the same groove as the one we just played in the pre-chorus. So we're going to play that again for 3 bars. So as you see, we've got 2 1-bar repeats. So we're going to play that for 3 bars, and then moving into the 4th bar of that line, we've got another fill. So the first thing you see in that bar is a minim rest, okay? So you've got a half note rest, which lasts for 2 beats. So we're going to rest for the 1 and 2, and then we're going to play our fill for the 3 and 4. So our fill is 2 quavers or 2/8 notes on the 3, and then another 2 quavers or 2/8 notes on the 4. So it's going to be rest, 3 and 4 and. Okay, and our orchestration, so we've got medium tom for the first 2 quavers or first 2/8 notes, then we're going to go down to the floor tom. Alright, so we're working on the right side of the kit here. 2 medium toms, 2 floor toms in quavers. So 3 and 4 and. So don't forget the rest in that bar. So rest for 2 beats. 1, 2, 3 and 4 and. So let's just try that fill in time with the metronome. So now we'll put the whole line together, so 3 bars of the groove, and then we'll try our fill on the 4th bar. So as you can see, at the end of that bar, we've got another double bar line, which tells us the music's changing again. So if we look at the next line, it says chorus. So we're going to be moving on to the chorus now. So we've just played the whole of the pre-chorus. So what we'll do is try that whole pre-chorus in time with a metronome. So we've got 2 lines. So we're going to play from bar 17 or line 5. I'm going to play through line 5 and line 6, the whole pre-chorus. Let's try that in time with the metronome. So let's try playing that pre-chorus in time with the track now. Okay, so we've just got those 2 lines. And remember, keep that groove steady. You've got that hi-hat now to sort of make it a bit easier to keep the rhythm. Make sure those fills are nice and evenly spaced. And then when we get to that last bar of the pre-chorus, don't forget that half note rest. All right, so we're resting for 2 beats. So let's try it in time with the track now.
Do I wanna know if this feeling flows both ways? Sad to see you go. We're sort of hoping that you'd stay. Maybe we both know that the nights were mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Crawling back to you.
So now we move on to the last section of the song, which is the chorus. And it starts at line 7 to bar 25. So it says chorus in a box above it to let you know it's the chorus. And beneath the music, you can see an F there. So that's our dynamic, which means forte. So we're going to play this loud. So we've got to really up the dynamic in this section. We've got to pick it up, play it a bit louder, so sort of create more energy in this section, which is normal of choruses. Okay, so we've got 2 rhythms again. So we've got a groove. The top rhythm is quarter notes or crotchet. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is going to be played on the crash cymbal. So if you can see, the cymbal has gone higher. So we've got a ledger line through the cymbal there, which tells us it's the crash. So we're going to play crashes for all 4 downbeats. Then underneath that, we've got quarter note on the bass drum or a crotchet on the bass drum, then the snare, then the bass drum and the snare. So the bass and snare are playing 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're just alternating there. Bass, snare, bass, snare. So the crash is going to hit all 4 downbeats. Bass is going to hit it with a 1. Then you got it with a snare on the 2, with the bass on the 3, with the snare on the 4. So that's our groove. All right, so we're going to make this a bit heavier, bring it up to forte. So let's just try this groove for 4 bars in time with the metronome. And then we've got a short fill on the 4th bar of that line. So it's just 2 beats. So we're going to play the groove for the first 2 beats. You've got your crash and bass drum and crash and snare. Then you've got a rhythm 3, 4 and. You've got a crotchet or a quarter note, and you've got 2 quavers or 2/8 notes, right? So we've got 3, 4 and that is going to be played on the snare drum. All right, so you've got your 1, 2 for the groove, and we've got 3, 4, and on the snare drum. We're going to play that with a right hand for the 3 and a right left for the 4 and. Okay, so let's just try just that bar in time with the metronome. And now we'll put the whole line together, okay? So we've got 3 bars of the groove, then we're gonna hit that 4th bar where we've got half a bar of the groove, then we've got that 2-beat feel. So moving on to the last line, we've got the same groove that we played in the previous line. So we've got that crash quarter notes and then the alternating quarter notes on the bass and snare. So we've got it for 3 bars again, because we've got 2 1-bar repeats, and then we move on to a fill. So a 1-bar fill in the 4th bar of the last line, and they're quavers. So it's quavers all the way through this bar, or 8th notes. So we count it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we're just going round the kit. So we start on the snare drum and we're going to play a different drum on each beat. Okay, so we got 1 and on the snare, 2 and on the small tom, 3 and on the medium tom, 4 and on the floor tom. So we're going to play right, left on each drum. Okay, so let's try just that feel in time with the metronome, just making sure it's nice and smooth, evenly spaced, and remember, we're playing this dynamic in forte, okay? So we have to play it nice and loud. So let's try the feel in time with the metronome. And then in the last bar of that line, we've just got a crash on the 1 with a bass drum. Okay, so as you can see at the end of that bar, that last bar, we've got a thin black line and a thick black line, and that's a final bar line which tells you it's the end of the piece. All right, so let's try that whole line, so the bottom line in time with a metronome. So that's the whole chorus, those last 2 lines. So we'll try those 2 lines, so the last 2 lines of the piece in time with a metronome. And now we'll try the chorus in time with the track. So remember, nice and big, forte for this section. So bring up the energy now. Keep that groove solid so there's a lot of space between the notes. Just make sure you're timing those downbeats nice and smoothly. Is that a word, smoothly? Just keep it nice and smooth, all right? Hit those fills, very relaxed and evenly spaced, all right? So remember, the drummer's really securing the beat of this song, right? So it's really important the timing is spot on. All right, so let's try that section in time with the track.
Crawling back to you. Never thought I'd call when you've had a few, 'cause I always do. Maybe I'm too busy being yours to fall for somebody new. Now I thought it through, crawling back to you.
So now you can play all the sections with the music and with a metronome. Let's try and play the whole piece in time with the track.
Have you got color in your cheeks? Do you ever get that fear that you can't shift the tide that sticks around like so much in your teeth? Are there some aces up your sleeve? Have you no idea that you're in deep? I dreamt about you nearly every night this week. How many secrets can you keep? 'Cause there's this tune I found that makes me think of you somehow, and I play it on repeat until I fall asleep, spilling drinks on my settee. Do I wanna know if this feeling flows both ways? Sad to see you go. We're sorta hoping that you'd stay. Maybe we both know that the nights were mainly made for saying things that you can't say tomorrow day. Crawling back to you. Never thought I'd call it when you've had a few. 'Cause I